start at Allen Fieldhouse, where the matchup between the teams with the two freshmen expected to go first and second in the 2026 NBA draft was kind of a letdown. Darryn Peterson was special early, and then he was sidelined again for most of the second half with what was described as cramps. Barely played in the final 20 minutes. A.J. Debonsa was good, but not great and slow to get going. Either way, Kansas wins the game. 90-82, beats BYU. It was number 14 over number 13, according to the AP poll that we'll update on Monday. But the story, once again, it is Darryn Peterson watching a second half unfold. Norlander, good to see you on this Sunday. Can you remember anything quite as, let's just say, weird as the Darryn Peterson freshman season to date?
We got a busy chat, by the way. I'm going to remind everyone, if you're watching this in real time, if you're late, just smash that like button if you could. Let's get those likes up here on a live Sunday show. Yeah, we're going to start as we should, because busy weekend, a lot to get to. This certainly feels like the biggest story of the bunch, and there's even a ton to get to within the game, Parrish. But you want to just talk all the Peterson stuff first, and then get to the game and everything that played out. You want to just get to the heart of the matter with Darryn Peterson, then just get to the other stuff after that?
Yeah, I mean, the explanation is the same as it's been consistently. Like, he felt something in his quad and seemingly removed himself from the game. Bill Self said afterwards, like, listen, he's doing everything he's supposed to do, but his body is responding in this way sometimes, and sort of it sounds like it's just a shrug of the shoulders. It is what it is until it's not. But we're 21 games into this thing, and this has been the defining pattern of his freshman season so far.
It has. And, I really wanted to hop on this show on Sunday night in the midst of that first half, looking like Kansas was going to cruise to a win. Now, it got the win. BYU threatened. And again, we'll get to that in a few minutes on just the actual gameplay and what played out there. But, I'm not thrilled to be talking about this. It just never ends. The twists with Darryn Peterson continue to twist. This dude looked like he could have put 30 on almost any NBA franchise on Saturday. It was his best performance. That dunk in traffic when he should have gotten the and one was a top 3 play of the season. And he's coming off of the ankle twist. He looks otherworldly. And in that moment, and as the first half played out, Debonsa didn't even take a shot until 7.5 minutes into the first half. It looks like Peterson is asserting himself. I am the guy. I am the number 1 pick. And for many people, he very much still is. But I'm going to be interested to see, again, maybe this is the last time we ever have to talk about this on this podcast, or at least until draft season. I really hope it is. But I would truly be interested to see and hear from the 30-plus NBA personnel, high-level scouts, general managers that were on hand. Is this not entering into the calculus at all? He looks incredible, but he's not finishing games. Here's the breakdown between first half and second half for Peterson, who has effectively played 10.5 games this season out of Kansas's 21. He's averaging 16.5 minutes in the first half, 10.2 in the second half. He's averaging 13.8 points through the first 20 minutes of the games he's played in on average, just 7.5 in the second half. Rebounds, 3 to 1.5. Assists, 1.5 to just 0.3, in addition to his field goal percentage numbers being better in the first half than they are in the second half, and his availability just not being there. I have to just invoke what I couldn't help but notice as I watched the game, and I'm going to be directly clear about this, and I know Kansas fans, some of them might even push back on this. I don't know what's happening here with Darryn Peterson. All I can tell you is this. When he went out for the second half, and then we found out after the game that it was due to cramps, that may well be true. I'm not even disregarding that it is true. However, Parrish, you and I, how many times past 10, 15, 20, 25 years have we watched players cramp up in games? And what do you typically see when that happens, particularly if it's a player of note? You see massive hydration. You see grimacing. You see potentially trying to down some sort of a banana or some sort of a food that'll get you going. You'll see trainers actively trying to assess the situation to get you back in the game. Not always can a player get back in the game. What did we see, Parrish, on Saturday before we knew that it was cramps? As it continued to play on, what did we see on TV on Saturday?
Like nothing. It looked like he'd fouled out of the game. Correct. Like he's just sitting there.
I am not saying that I don't believe he didn't have cramps. What I am telling you, and what anyone who watches this sport on a daily, weekly, monthly basis will tell you, that if a player of real note has cramps, usually the cameras cut away, and that is not what you see. Now, Kansas was up big. It has won without Darryn Peterson. It has been in this spot before. BYU made a massive charge, and given that he has had tenderness hamstring, now with the quad, the ankle seemed fine. I get it. I can't remember anything like this. I can't get enough of Darryn Peterson, and he won't give us any more. It's completely wild. It wound up not biting them because BYU did really, for a minute, like, I didn't ever think it was going to win the game, but it got to this point where it was going to be in some doubt. And nonetheless, KU gets out of it. We'll talk about their next game before we get out of the show here, but it's just weird. I don't know what to say. I want to see as much of this player as possible, and this has become one of the 3 or 4 biggest storylines in the sport this season.
I'm not going to question the young man's I'm not going to question his body. If he's saying he's feeling something that he shouldn't be feeling, who am I to argue with that? But it would bother me if I were a Kansas fan, and concern me if I were somebody else.
Yeah.
That you don't even look like you want to get back in the game. If it were, I'm projecting here, but if it were me and I'm like, Jesus, it's happening again. And now that my team's lead is slipping away, you would see me on the bench with like my hand up at trying to, hey, get him over here, get him working on me, get me do something. And you don't see any of that, or at least it's not coming through on the television. And that would concern me. I will take you at your word that you can't play. I don't understand why you don't look like you're trying to get back in that game. I don't get that part.
And a lot of folks were saying, like, this end, if not ended it, it definitively swung the momentum one player over the other. And again, after the season, we'll have plenty on Peterson, DeBonson, and anyone else for the number 1 pick. But for the purposes of this, I mean, this is the other bummer of it. This is the only time these 2 players are scheduled to meet in their college careers. They would have to meet in the Big 12 tournament. There's no guarantee of that. There's obviously, it's even further and longer odds that they would actually find a way to meet each other in the NCAA tournament. So it just stinks that we had all this hype. Man, it felt like, that was the way that game landed on Saturday, just with the schedule. There really wasn't a secondary game that was worth having up in the multi-view on YouTube TV or in the quad box. That was a standalone, let's lock in right now. Social media was buzzing about it. And Peterson starts off on fire. It's incredible. DeBonsa was off to a slow start, and then BYU makes the big comeback, and it's not because of DeBonsa, while Peterson's on the bench. And to me, I'm just not there on, like, it's got to be Peterson one no matter what. Very different players, extremely different situations, but the only hangup, the only one that plagued Zion Williamson when he was the no doubt about it number 1 pick was, what about the injury concerns with his body, et cetera, et cetera. A lot of that has proven to be true. Now, Peterson's issue is different, but I am not yet there. And I'm the guy who in the preseason, I voted for Peterson as my national player of the year. I put him number 1 on the best players in college basketball on our annual preseason list, ahead of the likes of a proven guy like Braden Smith. I just have to see more. I don't see why this wouldn't concern you at some sort of level. If you're an NBA general manager, especially in a class that is just, we're going to get to Keaton Wagler in a second. This dude is like vaulting into the top 5. It's insane how much freshman one and done talent there is. I am not at a place where I know some people are, and that is like, oh no, Peterson is the guy. It's got to be him. The talent, I agree with you. It's obvious, but we're not going to take into some sort of stock with some of these red flags through the first, we're about 60% of the way, 65% of the way through the season. I don't know. It's wild thing. Toss me your other thoughts, and then I want to talk a little bit about the game before we keep the
podcast. Yeah, just last thing on this. If I were running an NBA franchise and we had the number 1 pick and we were drafting tonight, I would still take Darryn Peterson. Buddy, when he's playing, it does almost look like a no-brainer. When he's playing, it does almost look like, as great as DeBonsa is, as great as Boozer is, as great as Caleb Wilson is, you name whoever you like, that's got to be the guy. You can't pass on that guy when he's playing. And I'm going to trust that's still what you're getting long term, but I don't like this. If I were an NBA general manager and we were going through this process, these are conversations I would want to have with him. So that BYU game, you were cramping, huh? Right. It didn't look to us like you were trying to get back into the game. Why? Like again, just projecting, but you would have to see me go. I would get back on the court, and then you'd have to see me cramp up again, and I'd be like, all right, I can't go, but I gave it a try. You would see me. I couldn't just sit there like that. I don't think. And and this isn't one of those things where, oh, so the sports writer doesn't like most basketball players wouldn't just sit there like that. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Most basketball players, when they are quote cramping, do not just sit on the bench like that. They are getting treated. They are grimacing. They are trying to do something to get back into the game. And you just don't see that with him. And that would, I don't want to say it would concern me, but it would bother me if I were a Kansas fan, and it would at least be something I'd want to talk about, because sometimes when you are trying to distinguish between elite talents, like the top 1%, it can come down to this stuff right here, above the shoulder stuff. Like how bad do you want it? How are you wired? What motivates you? And I'm not questioning any of that stuff. I'm just saying I would like when the camera goes over to that bench, see him over there looking like he's mad and frustrated and doing everything he can to get back out there and play. And there doesn't seem to be that urgency to it at all.
Self also told, and credit the Field of 68, they had him on late Saturday. He said he thought it might have been a conditioning issue. He twisted the ankle. He really gave it a full go on Thursday, and even then he was a little bit gassed. Maybe that is the case tomorrow night, Monday, on the road against Texas Tech. We'll get to that before we get out of here. Let's keep it moving. Just talk about the game here, because there's a lot here as well. DeBonsa, 17 points. Again, slow start, only 1 rebound. I wasn't surprised that he wasn't necessarily hunting early. And I thought Kansas actually, self credit to them, they did a wonderful job, I think, scouting, evaluating. Flory Badunga had an awesome game. I want to talk about all the other guys on Kansas's roster as well in this. The 1,000th game, oh, by the way, at Allen Fieldhouse, 878 and 122 is that program in that building since the late 1950s. No surprise that Kansas would win on a night like that with a big round number there. And the environment to kick off the game just seemed incredible. Richie Saunders winds up being the guy whose draft stock got the biggest bump of anyone in the building. 33, the majority in the second half. Also had 10 rebounds, a pair of steals, 11 of 19 from the field. He shot BYU back into the game. It became, and Elmarco Jackson also got banged up. He wasn't able to play in the second half, and not having those two, Kansas fans, Bill Self, the staff, they were having flashbacks to a couple years ago when they were just down so many guys. If the game had been 44 minutes, maybe they don't get out of it, but it was a 40-minute game and they get it done there. I give a ton of credit to Richie Saunders, who's an excellent player. And we've talked about Texas Tech before. I'm just going to unload the clip here, GP, and then you take it wherever you want. We've talked about Texas Tech being a team that could have 2 All-Americans on its roster. BYU is not that far behind. Like between DeBonsa, who I think is still a first-team All-American, and Saunders, he is cruising in on a crowded field of 15 guys. I feel like there are 30 dudes that are in this conversation right now. Saunders was tremendous there. Kansas in the first half, 9 of 12 from beyond the arc, led 53-33. ESPN stats and information said that the 53 points were the tie for the most ever in the first half that Kansas had ever put on a ranked team under Bill Self. That's outrageous. The team, Kansas, finished 11 of 22 from three-point range. 5 players scored in double figures, and Badunga was just awesome in general. Melvin Council Jr. had moments in the second half. It's almost like he goes up a switch or two once Peterson is on the bench. I do love this thing that he has cultivated with that Kansas fan base, where just, he calls himself, he's got that dog mentality. He's got 5,000 students just barking at him. I think that is awesome, and really a good rallying cry for that program. And then Bryson Tiller, that's the freshman we got to talk about here. Career high 21 points, 8 of 13 from the field, 3 of 5 from beyond the arc, 7 boards. He really showed up in a big time way. Extremely impressive for everything about Peterson that wasn't there in the second half. They just had guys step up left and right, and we have not seen, Kansas right now, Parrish, is 16-5, 6-2 in the league. It's won 5 in a row. That winning streak started with the home win, that no doubt about it, Iowa State victory. They really might have something here. If this can be the last time, please let it be the last time we talk about Peterson not being able to finish a game. If it can, and they put it together, Yeah, well, then we've got a real situation with Kansas and how dangerous it can be if Peterson can even be like 85% of what he was on Saturday. And then the last thing, it's BYU. And then seriously, take it where you want. BYU right now, 0-4 versus top 15 teams this season, has faced significant deficits this season against UConn, Clemson, Arizona, was down 17-4 to Delaware, down 10 in the first half to Dayton, was at one point up 61-52, and that flipped to being down 84-69 in the loss against Texas Tech, in addition to the stuff against Kansas. To me, the loser, and I thought this going in, the loser of this game takes an image hit. BYU right now, it's 17-4. That's a good record, but it does not have high-end wins. Now, it's still going to have more opportunities, but to this point, okay, Nova, Wisconsin, Miami on a neutral, solid. Those are good wins, but it does not have the top end heft, and it's going to have to reverse that if it wants to avoid being a 5, 6, or even a 7 seed on Selection Sunday. Floor is all yours.
Yeah, I mean, Richie Saunders was obviously among the stories, and he'll have that forever. Like, there's forever going to be a story he'll get to tell wherever his life goes from here. It was the last day of January 2026. I was in a game, top 2 picks in the draft were in it too, and I was the one that went out and got 33. And obviously, he was getting a lot of NBA buzz. You saw that on social media yesterday. Obviously, he can shoot it, and that's never been valued more than it is right now at the NBA level. He is also 24 years old already, and that's the type of thing that will work against him, but he looks the part. He looks the part, and I do think, however he gets to that league, you'll look up one day and he'll be making shots in that league, and probably for years to come. He was terrific inside Allen Fieldhouse. That's an all-time story for him. Up next for Kansas. Oh, it's a quick turnaround. So we'll have some Darryn Peterson. Well, I mean, we'll get to do this again real quick at Texas Tech on Monday night. Up next for BYU at Oklahoma State on Wednesday. Up